Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sea of Tranquility. I am your host tonight, or this morning, I should say, for album homework assignment. And this week, we have, first of all, I hope everyone had a great Christmas and happy Boxing Day. We have our own kind of Boxing Day today as Pete Pardo is going up against George Lamie. And when Pete's involved, that only means one thing, folks. We couldn't find anyone else. He had to step in at the last minute or you get no show. So Pete, he gave an album to George. George gave an album to Pete. They had a week with it. My guess is you got two guys from the prog seat. It's probably two albums you need at least 3 months with to digest, but they had 1 week. It's kind of like eating a big holiday meal and then going for a run for a couple miles. You got to sit, you got to let things digest first. Yeah. But they had 1 week. So let's see how this goes. I might be wrong. Maybe they gave each other two Ramones albums. I highly doubt that.
I think you are correct there.
We'll see where this goes. George, you can start us off and tell us what album Pete gave you and your thoughts on it.
All right. Pete gave me Chicago 7. 1974. I was only familiar with the first couple albums. There's a couple FM hits on this album that I vaguely remember from as a kid. We'll get to those. Starts out with Prelude to Air. I like instrumental, short instrumental, like 2 and change. It's got a lot of African sounds, a lot of flute, a lot of percussion. A good tune. I don't feel like it leads into Air. It's a different atmosphere, but hey, who cares? Air is one of my favorites on this record. Catchy jazz rock tune, nice horn melody, and as to be expected, a nice guitar solo from Mr. Caff. That's definitely a winner. Then you got the epic, the 10-minute double suite. Pretty much a straight fusion tune. Got 2 unaccompanied drum solos that kind of pad out the time. This could probably be tightened up, but otherwise, I mean, good tune. And the 4th straight instrumental is Italian from New York. This is a good track. From what I was reading, the title is named for the new percussionist on this record, Laudier Di Oliveira, a story involving him. Good tune, though. 4 straight instrumental. Then the 5th one, 5 straight instrumentals to open an album. They must have had a good amount of slack from their record company. We're going to open it with 5 instrumentals that are jazz fusion, and then we're going to go into what you want us to do.
Yeah, the label was not happy with them on this album.
Yeah, things changed afterwards, like from what I'm reading.
Yeah.
So 5th song is Hanky Panky. Another good tune, another fusion tune. It's too short though. They should have fleshed it out for me. But so we go to track 6 and the vocals appear. This is a decent tune, Lifesaver. It's all right. I would say it goes on for about 1.5 minutes too long though. It's got repeat the chorusitis down the stretch, which was a songwriting device back then. So I get it, but it could have been made a little better. Then you got the first half ends with Happy Man. To me, this sounds like a filler tune. It sounds like Robert Lamb wrote it in about 5 minutes. It's not terribly developed as compared to the rest of their stuff. And that's the end of the first vinyl. This is a double vinyl back in the day. So the second vinyl starts out with the first radio song, Searching So Long. This I definitely remember when I was a kid. It's a kind of Peter Cetera ballad that actually works for me. Like probably back then, if you were a dude, maybe somebody would call you gay or something for liking it. It's good. The vocal melodies, the vocal work in this band, everybody knows, is always great.
Yeah.
The melodies definitely work in that tune, carries the tune. Then you got another instrumental, Mongo Nucleosis. To me, this reminds me of Santana. Heavy on the percussion. Just a good song. Again, that could be a little longer, but it's a cool tune. Then first of two Terry Kath compositions. You got Song of the Evergreens. For me, this is surprisingly dull. I was expecting a really good tune, the way the people were talking and the fact it was Terry Kath comp, but you know, this is another one with chorus fade-itis too. It's a lot of repeating the chorus down the stretch. And the next track, Biblos,
yeah.
For me, my least favorite song on the record, actually. It's a little dull. It's kind of an acoustic softy that falls a little flat for me. Then you got Wishing You Were Here. This is another FM hit. I remember it less than Searching So Long, but I do vaguely remember it. Probably most well known for the background vocalists on it, which are the Beach Boys, or three of them anyway. Nice tune. Again, not the manliest of tunes, but who cares? Then you got Call on Me. This is kind of like a typical sounding Chicago tune. Real cool bass line in a couple parts of it. For people that don't think Peter Cetera can play bass, he's doing a little 16th note thing underneath some of the soloing. Real cool.
Yeah, he's a really good bass player, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. People doubt him because of later ballad era. Don't doubt him. He can play. And then you got Women Don't Want to Love Me. This is a solid tune, funky tune. Cool bass line again. It's the kind of song that I'd probably cringe at if it was on a Brecker Brothers album, but in context with this band, works. I mean, it works for their sound. They can pull it off. And the closer is a song called Skinny Boy. This is kind of a limp soul song for me. I read that it was repeated from a Robert Lamb solo album, and that's kind of what it sounds like, a song that just got dragged into the session to fluff out the second vinyl disc. And I don't know that it really stands in with the rest of this album. That's another song that I would probably excise later now, looking back at it. But yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on this. Good album.
So, would you bring? So you're going to maybe buy it, or are you going to just kind of forget it and enjoyed it for the week you had it?
Well, it depends. I think I would buy this. I didn't do a lot of research on it, but the first couple links I brought up, is it expensive? Is there an out of print situation with this?
Do you buy vinyl?
It shouldn't be.
No vinyl.
Because I know all these Chicago albums from the 70s, you can find them in a dollar bin in decent shape.
The first couple CD links I saw were Boku bucks. I'm like, why? You know?
Yeah, because I know they remastered most of this catalog. I mean, I'd be surprised if you couldn't find a used CD, a CD of this out somewhere. But
you can get a box set, I know, with all their albums, I think, on.
I could check the used shop, so I'd probably come across it.
Yeah,
I think I would buy it. It's a cool record.
Cool.
All right. It's I mean, this is an interesting record because they had multiple big selling albums before this. I mean, all their early albums sold really, really well, but the first album obviously is considered by many to be like their classic jammy adventurous album, and then the next two are the more double albums, right? They did all these double albums really early on, but very adventurous music. And then by the time after they released like Carnegie Hall, like Chicago 5 and Chicago 6, started to have a lot more mainstreamy type stuff and a lot of hit singles. So they were selling even more records, and the label wanted another one like that, but they were like, all right, we'll give you some of that, but we have this other stuff we want to do too. And the label absolutely hated all that instrumental stuff. And to make matters even more interesting, when they went out to tour, they played a shit ton of songs from that album, and the audiences were like, what is all this weird instrumental jazz stuff? Where's all the hits? I want to hear Saturday in the Park and all that stuff. So like audience was kind of like, were like a little shocked, especially those who kind of jumped on the Chicago train because of all the hit singles and the radio stuff. So I really appreciate Chicago 7 because I think it took a lot of balls to put out an album like that. It's like, yeah, we'll give you a couple of radio friendly songs, but we're going to do some serious fusion stuff here. And the sales of the album weren't that great because of that. But I think the fact that they just went out and did that, I think was a really cool thing.
And they made it the first disc. You'd think if they got away with it, they'd have to make it the second disc.
Right.
Have you heard? Have you heard Chicago too?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's a Steven Wilson remix out there of that album too,
which I like. Yeah.
First two are good.
Yeah. The first two are absolutely amazing and my favorites, but I have grown to really love the third. Third is not quite as immediate as the second one. Chicago 5 is unbelievable. I really love Chicago 5 a lot, but 7 is like the sleeper in that catalog from the 70s. Some really good stuff on there. And it's funny how you mentioned those couple of Terry Kath songs that are on disc 2 on the second half of the album. They are really mellow. But I think a lot of like Kath fans really like those because of the fact that they're so melodic, and he's using kind of interesting chord changes in there, and it is a little bit different than the normal stuff that he would write, which tends to be very funky and very rockin' for the most part. It kind of showed a different side to his songwriting, and certainly his singing as well. So Rob, I'm glad you dug the album. I had a feeling you might. I wasn't sure how much Chicago you had ever listened to, so I figured some of this might be up your alley, but I'm glad you dug it.
And he even liked the two softies on there.
Yeah. I was reading that Song of the Evergreens was the only song sung by Lee Laughlin. Who was he?
Lee Lagane. Yeah.
He sings lead on that. He's one of the horn players, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, Pete, what did George give you to listen to?
All right. So George gave me an album by a band called Mindwarp Chamber. And the album is called Supernova from 2010. There it is right there. So I had never heard this album. However, I am familiar with their previous album, Delusional Reality, which from 2008, which I liked a lot. But quite frankly, I haven't listened to that in a decade easily. So I completely forgot all about this band. And George, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Supernova was the last thing they ever did.
Yeah, the only thing after that was one track on a Prog Power compilation album. That's it.
Gotcha. And they're from your neck of the woods, right? Aren't they like a Chicago or Milwaukee or something like that, somewhere up in
Chicago?
They are Chicago. Okay.
One of the reasons I thought it was interesting is because this is actually the last metal band I was in. I was in this band. I co-formed this band, but quit before they started putting out records.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Holy cow. This kind of reminds me of last week's episode with Lewis, and the band he gave Jim was, he's like, well, I played with these guys. Interesting. Wow, I didn't know that. Very cool. Yeah. Like I said, when I started listening to this, it kind of brought back memories of the Delusional Reality album, which I was like, oh yeah, I remember liking that quite a bit. So it was kind of cool to hear something different from them. So the first track on the album is called Supernova, and really energetic. Love the vocals. I mean, this guy is a great singer. What's his name? Scott Huffman.
Yeah.
This guy can sing. I mean, he's got kind of like that, sort of like that Jeff Tate thing going on. Occasionally he moves into like Ronnie James Dio territory, but just really, Ray Alderish, Jeff Tate, really melodic, but just really strong. And the synth solos on this track are really, really good. I like there's a little bit of atmosphere too. It's got some guitar crunch, but it's not overly heavy. But I think like if you're a fan of like Queensryche and Symphony X and a little bit of Dream Theater, maybe Vandenplas, kind of in that realm a little bit. I'm already digging it quite a bit. The second tune, Closer to Heaven, starts off, it's got that kind of chugga riffing thing. I'm like, all right, here we are. It's like we're in Fate's Warning, Dream Theater territory here, but really melodic. And again, love the vocals. Just hitting all the right spots for me. I think it's an absolutely killer song. I really dug it a lot. It's like probably 7 minutes long. Most of the tracks seem to be like in that kind of 6, 7, 8 minute long length, which I'm totally fine with. On the Mend is the next one. This kind of slows things down a little bit. It's more of like a mid-paced track, got a lot of ethereal keys. In fact, there's more keyboards on this song than some of the other ones, as far as like, they're always there present in the background, even though there's tons of really good synth solos on the whole album. But again, the vocals and the hooks, absolutely spot on. But I like the way the song kind of builds a little bit. It gets a little more intricate as the tune goes on. Another really, really good one, but different from the first two, which I like. Then track number 4, Icons of Evil. Here we are in fast-paced prog metal. Darker tone to this song, which I like. And even the vocals, he kind of, like I said, he on this track, he kind of all of a sudden has this like Ronnie James Dio snarl, which is a little bit different than the other songs, which I really kind of enjoy. I like that he kind of dialed it up a little bit on this one. I really like the kind of the twisting, complex riffs. Keyboards are nice and haunting. The drumming's really good. There's some amazing guitar and synth solo exchanges, which is really cool. So they kind of do that like Symphony X Dream Theater thing, which is really cool. You know, if you love the blazing solo stuff, you get a lot of it on this album. Really good, dark, heavy track. I like this one. Might be one of my favorites on the album. Next up, we got Last Ember Fades. I get a pretty heavy Dream Theater vibe on this one. It's really melodic. The vocals are outstanding as always. I like the hooks. And I think that's one of the things this band does really well is all the songs are memorable. The vocals are just littered with melody and a lot of hooks on the choruses. It's got some tasty guitar solos. Another really good song. Out of Spite is up next. And this one's, again, like about 7 minutes long. This one's more of like kind of like a straightforward like metal number. Not a lot of prog in this one. Kind of sounds like early Queensryche a little bit to me. Maybe a touch of Crimson Glory. But good chorus. It's just, you know, the guitar work is a little more straightforward. It's not as complex as some of the other tunes, but it's got a really great synth solo. I forget the guy's name, but he's a really, really good player, and he's very prominent on the album, which is pretty cool to see. And then track number 7, Stillwater. I like this one. Heavy favorite track. Yeah. Kind of reminds me, and the vocals, again, that kind of snarling, more aggressive style. Reminds me again of like Dream Theater, maybe Awake, Train of Thought era, mixed with a little bit of very early Fates Warning, like maybe pre-Ray Alder, John Arch era. Vocals are just outstanding on the song. Music is just a good, you know, again, one of my other favorites on the album. I think Stillwater and Icons of Evil are probably my 2 favorite tracks here. And I love the chorus. Really, really good. Their choruses throughout this album are absolutely outstanding. And then the last track, which is the final act, again, more like a mid-pace song. So kind of going back to On the Mend, it's kind of like falls into the same kind of bracket as that, but it's still pretty heavy and it's still really melodic. A lot of drama on this one, you know, brought on by the keyboards and the vocals. In fact, the keyboards are very orchestral on this particular one. Vocals, again, kills. He's just so good. And I think it's a really good end to the album. And again, one of the couple tracks on the album that are a little bit different, offer some variety. So you get some nice heavy crunchers. You got a couple really proggy tracks. You get a couple mid-pace songs. You get one that's kind of like more of like a straightforward metal song. So it's like a little bit of everything. And it's a really nice production on the album too. And it's very professional sounding. The songs are really memorable. I mean, the first time you listen to it, you're already like remembering melodies and riffs and things like that, which I think is really important in prog metal, because I mean, I've heard a million prog metal albums that all kind of sound the same and all like do the same thing. This does not. So I like it a lot. I think this was really good. I really enjoyed listening to this one.
So Pete, buy it, stream it, or forget it. I have a feeling it's in the Amazon truck right now as we speak.
It's in the Amazon cart right now. I'm just waiting for a couple more things so I can get free shipping. It's sitting in my cart as we speak. So yeah.
Very cool.
I will be ordering this one because quite frankly, I don't know why I never got it to begin with. Like I said, I had the first one. I think after, you know, I got that first one, I liked it a lot, and just the band just completely fell off my radar. And I'm kind of happy to be reacquainted with them once again. Yeah, this is quite good. And a band that sadly hasn't done anything since, but I think if you enjoy any of the bands that I mentioned here, you'll really enjoy this one. It's quite good.
This is about 40% different lineup. The bass player and the guitar player are not the same guys from the debut.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So that it accounts for a different sound. I think a little lighter, a little proggier probably. But yeah, so they're similar enough where if you like one, you like the other, but there are differences that maybe, you know, you'll notice.
Yeah, I think, you know, again, I haven't listened to the debut in a while, but I think to my memory, I guess, I think this one's definitely more melodic. Sounds a little, I hate to use the term classier here, but it sounds more professional, like they just, you know, between the two albums, they really got their shit together. And from a songwriting perspective and, you know, musically speaking, this just sounds top notch all around, all across the board. And I can't stress how great the vocals are on this album. That probably for me, as great as the music is, the vocals are outstanding, really outstanding.
I'm told he did a lot of takes. I mean, he spent a lot of time working on the vocals from what I'm hearing.
Well, it sounds it. It's it's quite good. It's a really enjoyable album. So it's a shame they're not around. So
maybe that's why they never did another one after, because that was so much work with those vocals. Hell with it. I'm done.
So George, have these guys like popped up in any other bands, or like what's the deal with them?
I don't think any, but the guitar player did a instrumental album with the bass player. They did like, it's kind of Satch Vi kind of territory.
Okay.
But mostly just like local band stuff. I don't know of any other CD releases besides that. I'm still friends with all of them, but I don't talk to the singer and the drummer, but I talk to the other three guys still. They're actually all Channel fans.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Well, guys, job well done on this one. I know it's 11 years ago already, but and that keyboard player is dynamite. So
I guess somebody reviewed it for the site back then when it came out.
Yeah, I think Scott Ward did way back when. Yeah.
So. Well, thank God you like it, since they're watching, maybe. My God. Jeez. Maybe tell us beforehand that they're watching, George. We'll lie a little bit.
I was having some beers with the keyboard player over the weekend, and I told him that I gave you a list and you picked that off of it. And he was like, really? What are the chances? I'm like, yeah, it was like 6 CDs on there. That's the one he picked. So
I'm going to listen to it tomorrow in my car while I'm doing errands.
My best friend's a keyboard player, Ed Bethishu.
Cool.
It's a good album. I like it a lot. Very cool.
All right. Couple positive notes here today, this morning, this Sunday. So with that, we will say, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Are we on Twitter? We're really on Twitter?
I mean, we have a Twitter account. I almost never use it, but yeah, I actually probably just stop saying it, but it's the handle, right? So
right. I ain't on Twitter, so I wouldn't know people. You can be posting all kinds of shit over there. I wouldn't know. But we are on YouTube all the damn time. So Pete, tell the folks, the Monday, the Hudson Valley Squares. Tuesday, we got In the Prague Seat. Wednesday, we got new product reviews. Thursday, we got the Monsters Den. Friday, it's in the Funhouse with Martin Popoff. Saturday, we take a fucking break and drink some beers. And then Sunday, we're back here with this.
That is correct. You got it down pat. See that?
Have you ever won a vacation, Pete? I'll just step in. Don't worry. I got this.
There you go. Very cool. Very cool.
All right. So everyone say goodbye. If you got nothing else to say, Pete.
That's it. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We are outie.
We'll see you tomorrow night on the Hudson Valley Squares, where we'll be talking about our favorite hard rock and heavy metal albums of the year. So stay tuned for that and a lot more. For Jamie Laszlo and George Lamie, I am Pete Pardo. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. Take care.